For unique perspectives in Christian truth and one-of-a-kind Bible studies, please visit our website, truthhuntershow.com. Help us get around big tech censorship on YouTube, Facebook, and others by subscribing to our website. You can do so by entering your email address right here and click subscribe. Another option is click the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll get a pop-up where you can enter your email address here and click subscribe. To support the work of the Truth Hunters, simply scroll down the page and you'll see ways that you can contribute by PayPal, Patreon, and Venmo. Thank you very much.
Biden's thing, cheating on a law school exam, you shouldn't be thrown out for cheating, but you should probably be punished for going to law school at all.
What I'm doing is going out and demonstrating to the American people that I have command of all my faculties, that I don't need notes, I don't need teleprompter. I can go out and answer any questions at all. And so, what was happening though, 1 month ago died, May 30th, 2018. Was it 2015 he died? 2015. I think it's 2015.
There has been a lot of attention paid to language in the report about the president's memory, so let me say a few words about that.
You know, just to speak to the Hur report really quickly. Special Counsel Hur is, as far as I remember, is obviously a Republican, a prosecutor. He's not a medical doctor. He's just not. It's not for him to speak to. It's just not.
We interviewed the president and asked him about his recorded statement. Quote, "I just found all the classified stuff downstairs," end quote. He told us that he didn't remember saying that to his ghostwriter. He also said he didn't remember finding any classified material in his home after his vice presidency. And he didn't remember anything about how classified documents about Afghanistan made their way into his garage.
There is nothing relevant or material that our committee can learn from an audio tape, which we cannot learn from the 250 pages of the transcript. The format of the medium does not change the content of the communications.
Did I have this? Was this in my possession, this memo?
Yes, to give you some context for this, Mr. President, it was found in the front of this notebook that's on the first page, and the notebook was found in the library at the Lake House in one of the drawers in the cabinet.
I don't recall how it got back. I mean,
were you aware that you had kept it after your term as vice president? Did you know that you had it?
I don't know that I knew, but it wouldn't something I would have stopped to think about.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
She knows so long as she was 9.
In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory.
Ageism is an issue. Americans have a rich history of holding people's physical characteristics against them. Okay, you can ask African Americans.
He's older. That doesn't mean that he is unfit, and there's a lot of ageism there.
Now, this age attack, this obsession by the right,
things are frightening. You have Wall Street Journal running a horribly sourced piece saying that Biden is unfit.
Dubious Wall Street Journal report about the president's acuity.
Shoddy story by the Wall Street Journal questioning Biden's mental fitness.
Should I allow Hunter to give his opening statement first?
Doesn't appear Mr. Biden showed up for his public hearing, so we'll recognize you, Mr. Bobulinski.
We're now learning that Hunter Biden is attending some of the president's meetings at the White House.
Since he returned from Camp David last evening with his father, we understand that Hunter Biden has even joined some meetings and conversations that have taken place between the president and some of his most senior advisors and senior staff.
A massive, unprecedented scandal involving treason and corruption on a level that 20 years ago would have been a constant media event due to its alarming nature and the implications regarding the national security of the United States of America. Instead, the Donald Trump lawfare circus takes center stage.
Breaking news out of Donald Trump's legal battles.
As a result, the hubris of the powers that be are driving Americans into a constant exercise of critical thinking, strengthening a massive resistance of human awareness. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
All right, hello and welcome. It is the Diamond Report Live with your host, Doug Diamond. Hope you guys are doing well on a Sunday evening, 10:07 p.m., May 18th, 2025. And wow, we got lots to look at tonight. And the big news for today, Biden has been diagnosed with aggressive, note that word, aggressive prostate cancer. And aggressive might mean 2 weeks to live? We don't know. We don't know. So anyway, we'll look at that. We'll look at a few other things on the old live stream tonight. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here tonight. We've got some good friends over in chat. So hello and welcome. Miss Lynn Oz is here. So hi and welcome. And yeah, we've got some good chatting going on over there. All right. Let's first of all, let's cover this. Being how Miss Lynn is here, let's talk about the Truth Hunters. So if you haven't already signed up on the Truth Hunters, please do so. It's truthhuntershow.com. It's a really great website, I must say, just because she and I built this website together, and we've got some really good content on here for you guys. It's totally free, and you can just go there and sign up. Just drop your email address in, as was mentioned in the promo up front tonight, and we'd love to have you as part of our contacts, and that way, you know, when one of us posts something on there, you'll get an email sent to your inbox, and you will be able to stay in touch with what we're doing. She, I know, is being very much heavily censored on YouTube and other places, as am I. Probably her more than me, actually, because she has a far bigger audience. So I don't know. I think that's probably the best thing to do is to go to truthhuntershow.com, sign up, and that way you'll be able to access the content for free and not miss it. So please do that. And then, yeah, let's take a look at this first article I pulled up. This is a big story for today, just earlier on Drudge Report, which of course is a leftist rag now. It's not actually run by Matt Drudge. But Biden has been diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. I highlighted aggressive because I wonder how aggressive actually is. So this is something that we've kind of figured would be coming. Not necessarily cancer, but just the fact that they want to get rid of this guy. So obviously he was the patsy. He was the guy that was the face of the actual president, which was definitely the autopin. The autopin was the actual president. Whoever ran the autopin over the course of the last few years was the president. And that, of course, is, probably Obama and company, but certainly what we referred to on this show and others called the Council, which was a number of different deep staters. So that was the real president of the United States over the last 4 years. All of us have known this. It's not new news at all. So now they want to get rid of their patsy, right? A la JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby. Sounds very similar to the whole Jack Ruby thing. He came down with cancer and died, and I think it was just a week. Something like that. So I wonder what they have planned for old Joe here. Pretty sad. I mean, he's just a puppet, obviously. But still, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was getting into. All right. Let's look at Hal's website, halturnerradioshow.com. Updated. This is actually a post from yesterday, from the 16th, actually, on his site. Russia-Ukraine talks. Something he's been reporting on quite a bit on his radio show. Russia-Ukraine talks begin and end almost immediately. Russia walked out, but then the talks resumed. It says flash, the peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia began minutes ago in Istanbul. Now, this is obviously on the 16th. Said they ended minutes later. Russia told Ukraine that they must withdraw from Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye in order to have a ceasefire. Ukraine, of course, flatly refused. The Russian delegation then stood up and said next time it will be 5 regions and walked out of the room. And then Hal's got a correction here. I have just been informed that the Russians did not say 5, they said 8. It is not known if they will come back, and the negotiations might very well be finished, which they were. So, yeah, and then Zelensky said he was going to meet with Putin in Turkey, and that didn't materialize either because Putin would not want to meet with Zelensky. He's not even the president. He hasn't been the president of Ukraine for a year. He's literally been the dictator for a year now. So anyway, we'll see where all that goes, but it's not looking too good. And then Hal's got this other report on his website, HalTurnerRadioShow.com. Catastrophe as Mexican sailing ship strikes Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. So did you guys hear about this? Terrible accident happened last night in New York City's East River between Manhattan and Brooklyn. A sailing ship from the Mexico Navy collided with the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge, killing 2 crew and injuring at least 20. The vessel was at dock and was set sail south into the East River into New York Harbor. A tugboat moved the sailing ship from the dock out into the East River and departed once the vessel was free and clear to navigate. Apparently, the Mexican vessel lost power, quote unquote, and the swift current of the East River caught the vessel and started moving it northward, which is backwards. Within seconds, the vessel had moved so fast it headed under the Brooklyn Bridge, but its sailing masts were too tall. And what's crazy is they had people decked out all over the masts. Look at this. I don't know if you can really see it in this video, but there are people standing on the masts, on the sails. I'm going to mute this and play it because there's just music in this video, and I'm probably going to get my live stream shut down if I play the music. So I'll just talk over the top of it. But you can see all the people on all of these masts in the front and in the back. And as it starts scooting backwards, drifting backwards, and smashes into the bridge here and just rips the top part off, and those people are still standing there like it's coming up on their backs. They have to know it's coming, I would think. But this video is a little bit better clip. So let me play this one. I think this one will be a little bit easier to see what's going on. You can see the people hanging onto the sails.
Imagine you rent the boat for the night and then it just fucking collapses the second it takes off the dock.
So there's some laughter going on. Obviously they didn't know. They didn't know that people were getting hurt and killed. But yeah, isn't that crazy? Here's a crash from another angle showing the vessel as it approached the second dock and came to rest. The New York police boats and the fire department boats and U.S. Coast Guard vessels responded to render aid. The Mexican Navy sailing ship had all the proper necessary permits to be in the New York City waters at the time of the crash. So that is wild. Yeah, some people were jokingly saying that they were on their way to the Gulf of America when all this happened. So I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily true, but it's pretty funny. I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous that it happened. It's very sad, obviously, that people lost their lives. But man, you would think they would pay a little bit more attention as to what's going on and not having people stand all over the masts as it was happening. It says, meanwhile, the Mexican Navy strikes the Brooklyn Bridge while searching for the Gulf of America. So I don't think they found it in New York City, do you? All right, this is the other big story of the week. 8647, did you guys know about this? Comey, James Comey, as in former FBI Director James Comey, appears to call for the assassination of President Trump. Former FBI Director's caption on Instagram, on his post on Instagram, says, "Cool shell formation that he found on his beach walk." I'm not buying that one. How about you guys? Did former FBI Director James Comey call for the assassination of President Trump? Well, did the sun come up this morning? James Comey posted a cryptic message on his Instagram account on Thursday, spelled out in seashells, 8647. I don't think it was too cryptic. It was pretty darn obvious, wasn't it? Cool shell formation on my beach walk, Comey said in his caption. Here's the embedded Instagram post, but I'm not signed into Instagram here, so it's not going to show up. Some interpreted Comey's cryptic message as a serious threat. 86 equals get rid of or remove, and 47 equals Trump, according to Hodge Twins' post here. Yes, I think it's worse than that, don't you? Yeah, 86 means to kill, to murder, or to execute judicially. And our good friend, Miss Emily, I'm not sure if she's here in chat tonight, but she mentioned earlier that 86 means 8 miles out and 6 feet under. It's a mob term. 8 miles out and 6 feet under. That's what he's actually saying. So it's a call. This is incitement. People have been put in prison for decades for doing exactly what this guy did. So it will remain to be seen if anything happens to him. My guess is, they did bring him in for questioning, but that may be where it ends. That would be a travesty for sure. But anyway, this is a WorldNet Daily article. And then this was actually the first site that I saw that even had the story, which is a pretty good site. I don't really mention it much, but I am on their newsletter list, News with Views. You guys ever heard of newswithviews.com? 8647, a James Comey post. And this is all about what was going on here with that post. We all know what he was trying to say. It is not a surprise. And I found a few pretty good memes here, 8647. And Trump's shells that he found apparently say lawyer up. Just happened to find that on the beach somewhere. And then here's another one. Come on, 8647, handing the gun to the people with TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And then, of course, this one. Imagine walking on a beautiful beach and all you think about is Donald John Trump. Yeah, I don't really see that happening. And then, let's see. This is the other really wacky thing that I found about this. And you guys may have heard about this. 8647, right? So 8,647 days from the day of 9/11/01, James Comey posts the coded 8647 post with the nefarious message widely interpreted as a call for assassination. So if you are looking at the date 9/11/2001 and you count 8,647 days later, you get May 15th, 2025, when James Comey posted 8647 on his Instagram. That is weird. But that was actually confirmed by multiple sources. I know that is true. I didn't actually get the calendar out and count them up myself, but my guess is it's probably pretty darn close. That is really weird. Weird stuff. And then, of course, here's the other meme that I found. Arrest Comey, that was found in a cool shell formation on the beach. Gee, what does it mean? I don't know. That was another pretty good one there. All right, let's keep looking at the news here. We've got lots of stuff to check out tonight. I've probably only got, 150 tabs open tonight? Something like that. First Afrikaner refugees land in U.S. Episcopal Church turns its back and won't help resettle. Why do you suppose that is? Why? Just put it in chat. Why do you think that is? Well, I'll answer that in a minute. The first group of Afrikaner South African refugees landed in the U.S. this week, and Trump said that they would receive citizenship. The Dutch descendant farmers have been targeted for brutal farm attacks, in addition to taking their land without compensation. The pro-refugee Episcopal Church refused to help resettle them because they are white. That's right. The far-left church World Service, CWS, will help resettle them, but the outfit isn't too happy about it. Yes, they have the wrong skin color. That's these people's problems. When I was in South Africa, I actually met some people who spoke Afrikaans. That is one of the native languages there. And they are super, super nice people. And people of the earth, as you might say. Very nice folks. And, of course, not coming here to wreak havoc and to rape and pillage and plunder their way through the United States, unlike Biden's 20 million or so that he let in. Nope, 50 people, wasn't even 50 people actually. Democrats and critics in South Africa claim that the Boers, Dutch descendants, are not being racially targeted, but here's a video of Julius Malema, the head of the Economic Freedom Fighters political party, singing a song called Kill the Boer, which means kill the farmer, to a huge crowd of followers, inciting what we might call hate. That's actual hate. So, but it's okay when he does it because he has the right skin color. We've got a video on the Afrikaner refugees that we'll watch in just a little bit, but we just got the show going, so we won't watch another video quite yet. We'll kick that in a little bit. New York Times, Trump ended war with Houthis after they shot down U.S. drones, nearly hit fighter jets. When Trump approved a campaign to reopen shipping on the Red Sea by bombing the Houthi militant group into submission, He wanted to see results within 30 days of the initial strikes 2 months ago. Trump reportedly decided to end his short-lived war on the Houthis after being informed that the U.S. had burned through weapons and munitions at a rate of about $1 billion in the first month alone, yet the U.S. is unable to establish air superiority. Trump called a halt to the ongoing military campaign against the Houthis in exchange for the group stopping its attacks on U.S. interests in the region, i.e. boats trying to get through there. The Houthis acknowledged the agreement but made it clear their attacks on Israel would continue as a protest against the ethnic cleansing in Gaza. But Israel was not consulted. How about that? So Trump said, yep, you can keep bombing Israel, but you won't keep bombing our ships. And apparently they acquiesced. So anyway, there is another potential war, I think, probably averted here. We'll see. The president of peace. But yeah, it took some bombing first to get him to stop. So figure that one out. Technocracy.news. Okay, top 3 articles on here. The war on food, land use, private property, and ranchers. Showing how ranchers are bullied off their land and out of their livelihood by environmental groups who use reflexive law to upend the rule of law. This story has played out countless times across America, and the result is always the same. Ranchers lose. If they had understood reflexive law in the first place, they would have prevailed. So that's one of the top articles here on technocracy.news. Then this one as well, Stay Human. The strange new frontier of AI welfare and free speech for chatbots. If AI systems were ever able to suffer, would we be obligated to care? Should speech from AI chatbots be protected under the First Amendment as free speech? Do AIs deserve moral rights? You can see where this is headed. Technocrats have painted themselves and society into a corner. Get ready for the insanity to follow. So that's article number 2 here on the site, technocracy.news. And this one too, police skirt facial recognition bans with new type of AI. Facial recognition software has been banned in many cities across America. No problem for technocrats at Veritone, though. Police departments are doing an end run around the pesky laws and statutes by using Veritone's non-biometric body identification software instead. All based on AI, of course. This is unprecedented because it gives police a brand new tool to use against citizens. And it's okay when they do it. Always, isn't it? Technocracy.news. Good site. And then Liberty Beacon. We've got a few articles from here as well. TheLibertyBeacon.com. Trump announces phone call with Putin. So he can get Putin on the phone. Zelensky, not so much. The two presidents will discuss the Ukraine conflict and trade on Monday. That would be tomorrow, according to the U.S. leader. It just says Trump has announced that he will have a phone call on Monday with Vladimir Putin. He will be focusing on stopping the bloodbath between Moscow and Kiev and trade issues, he said in a post on Truth Social. Following the call with Putin, Trump also plans to speak with Zelensky and various members of NATO, he said. The U.S. president has also expressed hope that Monday will be a very productive day and a ceasefire will take place. It is not clear if he expects a truce to be agreed upon on Monday or at a later date. So don't hold your breath here, but it is possible. Trump is quite the deal worker, as we all know. And it is possible that he could work something out as early as tomorrow, but possibly this week. We'll see. We'll see. Don't hold your breath, right? Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed to TASS, that TASS is one of the news services, the news wires in Russia, that Moscow is making preparations for the phone call between Trump and Putin. He did not provide any further details. The Russian and Ukrainian delegations spent nearly 2 hours talking in Istanbul in the first direct negotiations between the two sides in around 3 years. They agreed to a major prisoner exchange involving 1,000 POWs from each side and decided to continue contacts once each party prepares a detailed ceasefire plan and presents it to the other side. Yeah, Hal Turner had mentioned on his show earlier in the week that they also exchanged bodies, and it was like they had the dead from the Russian side and the dead from the Ukrainian side, and it was like 10 to 1. as far as the number of Ukrainian soldier bodies versus Russians. So not nearly as many Russians getting killed. It's not what we're told on the MSM, obviously. Never is it? As I said earlier, Joe Biden's auto pen scandal growing bigger by the moment. And oh look, just in time, now he has cancer. But it's just a coincidence. Joe Biden's auto pen scandal. The Biden administration's alleged use of an auto pen is growing into a much larger scandal. President Trump claimed on Saturday the president's comments come after a Heritage Foundation report said in March the majority of official documents signed by President Joe Biden, I would say a fake President Biden, were done so by using an auto pen signature, raising many questions, per Breitbart News. Yes. Well, he was illegitimate to begin with, right? Because the 2020 election was a total sham. He was put in place through brazen election fraud, and anything that he would have signed, even if he did sign them, would be illegitimate. And yet, he was so out of it that they used AutoPen to literally sign thousands and thousands and thousands of documents under his name. So whoever was using and running the AutoPen was the president of the United States by default. However, I think Biden did sign as many as maybe 2. They've looked at all of the AutoPen signatures and everything is pretty much the same. It's within, just a very small amount of differentiation between the different AutoPen signatures. And there were 2 that were slightly different out of the thousands. And those 2 were the ones that he actually signed, supposedly. It says the president's comments come after a Heritage Foundation report said in March the majority of official documents signed by President Joe were done so by using AutoPen, raising many questions. Whoever had control of the AutoPen is looking to be a bigger and bigger scandal by the moment. It is a major part of the real crime that the presidential election of 2020 was rigged and stolen. Millions and millions of people knew that. But the radical left Democrats waged a campaign of inoculation and innocence like none that had ever been waged before. They like that inoculation thing, don't they? In other ways. This is why the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, who were given a full and complete pardon by the person who wielded the now illegally used AutoPen, deleted and destroyed all evidence and information from their corrupt and vicious witch hunt against me, meaning Trump, and many other people whose lives were completely shattered and destroyed by this historically criminal event. Yes, but he's just a Putin flunky, according to the mainstream media. He doesn't know what he's saying. And he has mental problems, according to the mainstream media. No, it's Joe Biden, and it's all been confirmed. It's all coming out now. Something we've been saying on this show for years at this point. The Liberty Beacon. Next article I pulled up. Bees are behind our food and natural medicines, but they're disappearing. I brought this up not because you guys didn't already know this, but I thought it was further confirmation. And what I wanted to do, which is what I always do, what I wanted to do was go through this live and see if it mentions what I'm thinking is one of the main culprits here is geoengineering, of course, and I doubt that it even mentions it, but we'll look a little closer here. So the bees are disappearing. Bees are dying at an alarming rate. This is something that Mr. Dane's been talking about for years. Between 2023 and 4, U.S. beekeepers lost an estimated 55.1% of their colonies. The worst loss in more than a decade and nearly 15% higher than the previous 13-year average. So when the bees die, we die, is something that Mr. Dane talks about pretty often on his broadcast. Bees pollinate 3/4 of the fruits, vegetables, and nuts that we eat, and many of us rely on bee products for their nutrition and health-promoting gifts. If bees vanish, it's scary to think of all we stand to lose. And some say that if the bees go, we go too, which is what I just said. Yeah, when the bees die, we die. So anyway, not exactly new news here, but it's worse than people even know at all. Says 20,000 species of bees grace our planet, and 4,000 species are native just to the U.S. Bees are some of the most well-known and beloved pollinators. 1 in every 3 bites of food that you eat depends on pollinators to produce. And bees pollinate 1 in every 4 bites. So think of that. Of the next whatever, piece of fruit or something that you eat, provided by a bee to some degree. And then it goes on to talk about bee pollen. What I'm looking for is to see if it even mentions why it's happening. Now, they do know about geoengineering, obviously, on the Liberty Beacon, so I'm looking to see if they're not really addressing that I see. Well, here. We've all heard about the alarming decline in bee numbers. While they're blaming Roundup, which of course that is a huge one as well. Roundup ready crops like corn and soybeans, all these, they create very sterile fields, so there are no weeds, and a lot of those weeds are really good for bees. So they're blaming Roundup, which rightfully so. Let's see if they get to the real factor, I think, which is geoengineering. I don't see it. That's too bad. Well, anyway, that's on the Liberty Beacon. You guys can take a look at that article if you want. If you aren't already aware, please feel free to jump on the Substack list, and you'll get this link and all the others that I talk about tonight emailed to you when I send out the Substack post on Tuesday. That will have the links for all of the articles and then also the videos, which will be the final version of tonight's show that will be available on the various platforms like Rumble and so forth as well. So stay tuned for that on Tuesday. But yeah, be on the Substack list if you're not already. Liberty Beacon, one more article. It's time for we the people to stop blaming everybody, quote, but ourselves. What you're about to be presented with is not a bedtime story. It has continued to develop over a multi-year period. It may very well anger or even offend some, those who are the most guilty. This is Roger Landry writing here. He's the owner of the Liberty Beacon, by the way. The truth is often buried or masked. Regardless, it remains a constant, and those who wish to ignore or corrupt it, not a pleasant one. Those offended by what they are about to be exposed to are the ones who need to understand what is being said the most. Because this unalienable truth is, this is a republic of, by, and for the people. If it perishes, it does so by our own hands and not by the actions of any tyrannical government. When I state or quote this, I get very little response, or in some cases, negative feedback. Why? It is the absolute truth, no matter how hard it is to hear. We, the people, through a major disconnect facilitated by our apathy and complacency, our ignorance or complicity, most instituted by the deep state, have permitted just about all that ails us to become reality. And then he says, fact. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. So anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting article. It goes on pretty far here. There's some other good info and some good postings as far as memes, like meme type things on there as well. So that's on the Liberty Beacon. So feel free to look at that if you guys want to. Now, let's see. I've got a couple of Revolver articles pulled up. Back to the James Comey thing for a second. Update, James Comey death threat takes a turn. Pulled this up because I wanted to see what the turn is they're talking about. A formal letter has been sent to Secret Service Director Sean Curran and FBI Director Kash Patel calling for an immediate joint investigation into Comey after he posted a disturbing message on social media using the phrase 86 in reference to Trump. That term is widely understood to mean kill or eliminate. Yes, 8 miles out and 6 feet under. Mob phrase. The letter demands a full probe into potential violations of federal law, including 18 U.S. Code 871, threats against the president, and 18 U.S.C. 875, interstate threats. It also presses for answers on whether Comey still holds a security clearance or has access to classified material. The same left that spent years crying about stochastic terrorism is now silent. But silence isn't justice. If Comey broke the law, he doesn't get to hide behind his badge or his politics. He belongs in handcuffs. While true, I don't necessarily see that happening. I hope I'm wrong. So Rep. Andy Ogles, he's got a statement here, which is pretty much what we just read. He is from my area, actually. He's very close to where I'm at in Nashville. I just sent a letter to Secret Service Director Sean Curran and Kash Patel urging an immediate joint investigation into former FBI Director James Comey. First post. So yeah, we'll see where all this goes. Hopefully they will actually do something and put some people in handcuffs. But so far that hasn't happened too much quite yet, has it? Pretty disappointing. I mean, everybody wants to see these deep state people arrested and held accountable, but so far it hasn't really happened much yet, unfortunately. So yeah, he knew exactly what he was saying. I mean, the funny thing here was he claims now, by lying, that he didn't even know what 86 meant. I mean, everyone knows what 86 means. And for him to say that is obviously a total lie. And if he does that and sticks with that story, and he's being interviewed by federal officers, guess what? He can do a whole bunch of time just for lying to a federal officer. That right there will get you put behind bars for years. Never mind the fact that you're threatening the United States and threatening the leader of the United States, and the free world for that matter. But maybe it's okay when he does it. Here's what would happen if the Trump administration used the Comey standard against Comey. Comey's latest post would no doubt be pursued as incitement to violence, something Comey himself would seem to advocate were he not the subject of the investigation. James Comey dog-whistling his desire for Trump to be assassinated via the now infamous 8647 social media post, only to play dumb after a well-deserved backlash, is a final befitting act by the disgraced former FBI director in his long-running campaign to destroy the president. Justice demands he answer for this outrageous act, particularly because the holier-than-thou G-man has to date completely skirted justice. Indeed, Comey, among those most responsible for eviscerating the rule of law and undermining our republic over the last decade, has evaded the accountability of his sordid and malevolent conduct, besides being fired during the Trump 1 administration. Yet consider the parade of horribles for which Comey bears culpability. And a few of those are: the Russiagate hoax originated and festered under Comey's leadership. Comey briefed the incoming president on the wholly uncorroborated Steele dossier days before his first inauguration, a briefing whose leak triggered the media to report on the garbage Oppo research package. This in turn undermined the incoming administration and helped foment the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. The FBI would, of course, use the dubious dossier to justify the unjustifiable spying on the Trump campaign through Carter Page via a civil rights obliterating FISA warrant that Comey and his comrades zealously pursued. And it goes on of all of the crimes this guy's done. And yet again, is he above the law? It would seem so. So we'll see where it goes. That's on the Federalist. And then I pulled this one up too, in case you guys didn't know who this guy was. I follow him a little bit on X and would recommend that you guys do as well. He's got some interesting things to talk about, even if you're not into crypto, which I'm not. But this guy's an interesting cat. The Roger Ver lawfare case you've never heard of, and why Trump needs to end it. This is the lawfare story of Roger Ver, and it's one you've probably never heard of, and that's exactly the problem. Lawfare doesn't always make headlines. Some of the most sinister cases fly so far under the radar you'd never know they exist. These aren't splashy trials or viral clips making the rounds. They're quiet, obscure prosecutions buried in courtrooms across the country. These are the cases nobody talks about, but they matter. They are the backbone of the entire lawfare machine. While the media fixates on daily political clown shows, this machine grinds on in silence, sharpening tactics, stacking up quiet victories, and laying the groundwork for high-profile takedowns like Trump, the J6ers, Douglas Mackey, all while steamrolling countless lesser-known dissidents you never hear about. The longer these shadow prosecutions go unchallenged, the longer the lawfare machine becomes, even with Biden out of office. And that's what makes this so baffling. Many of these Biden-era cases are still active under Trump, under his watch, despite everything he and his allies have gone through, and that has to stop. American people didn't elect Trump to carry the water for Biden's corrupt DOJ. We elected him to break the chains and start righting the wrongs, which brings us back to Roger Ver. He's not a household name, but in the crypto world, he's a legend. Roger was the first major investor in Bitcoin. So early, he actually bought the domain bitcoin.com. Roger Ver helped ignite the financial revolution that now threatens to undo the entire fiat-fueled, which is money with no intrinsic value, that isn't backed by anything like gold or silver, globalist agenda. And because of that, he's been targeted and hunted by the government for over 2 decades, long before lawfare even had an official name. Today, Roger's 46 years old and is cooling his heels in Spain, waiting to see if he'll be extradited to face up to 109 years in a U.S. prison. His so-called crime? A dispute with the IRS and the audacity to stand up to a corrupt government that refuses to let go of its power. His story is a lot more about that than just taxes. It's about political revenge. Roger is a man who dared to call out federal abuse, support freedom-minded causes like Ross Ulbricht's defense, who, by the way, has been pardoned, and advocate for a decentralized future where people, not governments, control their money. That is why he became a target during the Biden regime. And now, while many of Biden's prosecutors are still embedded in the Justice Department, the same corrupt machine is trying to finish what it started. Roger Ver didn't run from his obligations. He tried to settle with the IRS before renouncing his U.S. citizenship. He reached out to the IRS to find out exactly how much he needed to pay to sever financial ties with the government. However, they refused to give him the number. Not because they couldn't, but because dragging things out benefits the system. And so it goes on and on here. So anyway, it's an interesting story. He does have there's a short film about him as well. This might be it here. I'm not sure. But it's an interesting story. Even if you're not into crypto, you can see that this guy has really been set up. I think they got him. Well, they had the tax thing, but I think they also were saying that he was illegally selling fireworks on eBay. That's kind of where this all started for him. And it's been quite the story for sure. Anyway, something to look at. It's on revolver.news. And then see the next article I pulled up here from the Daily Caller. Kash Patel announces the FBI is leaving the J. Edgar Hoover building. So that's interesting. FBI Director Patel announced the Bureau will be leaving its D.C. headquarters, according to Fox Business. Patel said the FBI is leaving the Hoover building in an interview with Fox Business's Maria Bartiromo. Let's see here. Looking to see why they're leaving. FBI is leaving the Hoover building. The building is unsafe for our workforce. You just gave up a big nugget here, Deputy Director Dan Bongino said. We want the American men and women to know if you're going to come to work at the premier law enforcement agency in the world, we're going to give you a building that is commensurate with that, and that is not this place. Patel did not say where the Bureau's new headquarters will be located, but he noted in the interview that the FBI will transfer many of its D.C. employees to other places in the country. I vote for shutting it down, just like they should shut down the IRS and so many other places. Shut it down. That's what I think. Anyway, Daily Caller article on that one. And then this one as well. Verizon rolls back DEI policies to secure a $10 billion deal. So this is another one of these Trump things that have happened here. Verizon Communications won federal clearance for its nearly $10 billion buyout of broadband provider Frontier Communications, which is out west. Some of you guys may have Frontier emails. I don't know. As pledging to step up internet investments and yielding to Trump administration demands to curb its diversity policies. FCC Chairman Friday granted the telecom company's request to merge and said the deal would be in the public interest. Verizon pledged to expand fiber optic internet service to pass near at least 1 million new homes a year and committed to address longstanding complaints from cell tower maintenance companies and prices and contracts. Verizon said in a May 15th letter that they would scale back its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. So the DEI was the reason that it was being held back, at least for a while. But now they get to move forward once they've scaled that back. So let's hope that they don't get the deal and then roll the DEI back out again, because that could happen. Anyway, this is on MSN article. And this one too, NBC News. Pope Leo, I'm calling him Bob Pope. Bob Pope affirms family is based on union between a man and a woman, and the unborn has inherent dignity. Did you guys ever hear Francis say that? I don't think I did. Leo, the first American pope, also called for reviving multilateral diplomacy and promoting dialogue between religions in the search for peace. Sounds like he's being awfully nice. Vatican City, Pope Leo affirmed Friday that the family is founded on the stable union between a man and a woman. You got to know that NBC News absolutely hates posting that truth. A stable union between a man and a woman, and that the unborn and elderly enjoyed the dignity as God's creatures, articulating clear Catholic teaching on marriage and abortion at the heart of his pontificate. Leo, the first American pope, also called for reviving multilateral diplomacy and promoting dialogue between religions in the search for peace in his first meeting with the Vatican Diplomatic Corps. The audience was private, but the Vatican released Leo's prepared text and that of the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps. So anyway, pretty interesting that that's coming out. I still think that this guy is probably not exactly who he's being portrayed as. And I don't think I have Leo Zagami's website pulled up this week, but something to keep an eye on. He's one that's saying that this guy, in his opinion, Leo Zagami's opinion, this guy is going to be worse than Francis. So we'll have to keep a sharp eye on this guy. I think he could very well be the biblical false prophet, but he's not there yet. So we'll see where it goes. And then another Revolver article, got two more of those. It took a bunch of South African refugees to fully expose the left's hatred for whites. Yeah, I mentioned this last week. This is really when all of this came up, was an article that I read last week about these refugees, the actual real refugees who just happen to be white, coming from South Africa because they don't want to be slaughtered by staying in their country and staying on their farms. There's a refugee crisis unfolding right now that should have every decent American up in arms. Families are fleeing violence, discrimination, land theft, and open calls for genocide. They're showing up with nothing but their dignity, faith, and work ethic. How dare they? They're not demanding handouts. They're not burning flags or waving foreign ones. They're simply trying to survive and build something new somewhere safe. But here's the kicker. They're white. And just like that, everything changes. White South African farmers are being hunted in broad daylight. Their land is being seized. Their families are under constant threat. Based on all this, Trump has granted white South African farmers asylum.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies.
Shoot to kill the poor, the farmer.
If things are going the way they are, there will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now.
According to the Transvaal Agricultural Union of South Africa, approximately 635 farm murders occurred between 2014 and 2024, averaging 63 per year, with 50 recorded in 2023 and 32 in 2024. AfriForum, a minority rights group, reported 49 farm murders in 2023, aligning with Tau SA's figures.
And at that point, my husband got up for the last time. And the one attacker said, just kill him, brother. And they shot him in the head, execution style, in front of us. And he literally fell at my feet on his face. The government dismisses it. The government denies that it's happening. Our own president came to New York in September And he stated in an interview with Bloomberg,
There are no killings of farmers or white farmers in South Africa. There's no land grab in South Africa. We are involved in a process of discussing land reform.
South African Police Service statistics indicate that 12 farm-related murders occurred between October and December 2024. These grim numbers are a small fraction of South Africa's 19,000-plus annual murders, illustrating that the land of Zeph is wrought with a variety of chaos.
Americans don't understand that the rest of the world is not like America. You know, when we have a lot of very difficult things happening in the world today, and it was very complicated because there are 27 tribes, black tribes. There are really 2 white tribes, there's Afrikaans and English, and they hate each other more than the black on white situation. The history of the fighting between the Dutch and the English, it makes most wars look tame. And then the black tribes all hated each other for their hundreds of thousands of years of history. And so the level of violence was just extraordinary. I remember getting to this concert and the train doors open, and there's 2 black guys, and there's one black guy, I just caught the end of the fight, takes a knife and stabs it into the side of this guy's head, like right there. And this guy just drops dead, boom. And you're on the train, got a whole bunch of people behind you want to get off the train, but you just got this dead guy in front of you.
A 2012 Reuters report noted a 1/3 decline in white farmers since 1997, emphasizing robbery as the primary motive, not race. Yet, the brutality, torture, machete attacks, and prolonged Mad Max-level assaults continued to fuel a Western propagandized media, feverishly denying reality and stoking the flames of division.
So if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No, they can
These
leave
refugees
and go,
are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
So the Trump administration, they're saying that essentially these white South Africans assimilate better, and they're also not as much of a security risk. That's really causing a lot of people to be appalled, frankly.
These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history, apartheid.
Talking about the white Afrikaners who were allowed into the country and what that means for the black folks and the black farmers.
But Don, this is a slap in the face to America's black farmers right now.
Unfortunately, the mindless underbelly of American victimhood isn't rolling out the red carpet either, regardless that these refugees are a tiny number, mainly families waving the American flag, a sight for sore eyes.
Good morning. This is for the South Africans who are going to be entering the United States. Our president, he has Secret Service, and you will not.
So what's going to happen is that these people will start getting their ass whooped because they think it's okay to talk to us any old kind of way like they did out there in South Africa.
Afrikaners have entered a country where a tragic suspected murder involving Texas black and white teenagers continues to tear at the seams, and disregard for human life has sunk to new lows.
James Norman, known as Jim to his family and friends, was getting ready to go to dinner with his daughter and son-in-law. Authorities say the 79-year-old had been vacuuming the back of his Chevy Trailblazer at the car wash. The engine was still running. That's when investigators say 29-year-old Ryan Hewitt jumped into the driver's seat and took off, with the victim still hanging out the back door.
You kill one of us, you kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 white people. We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women.
John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Yeah, and the Democrats would like to bring that same argument to the United States. I'm sort of a little surprised. Not that they don't want the white people to come in, but if they allow them in, then they can bring their black versus white hate fest into this country, right, directly imported from South Africa. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, no, obviously it wouldn't. So the one lady in that video said that, Donald Trump has Secret Service, but you don't. So that was incitement too, wasn't it? again, it comes back to it's okay when they do it. It's just not okay if someone else tried it that wasn't a member of the left. So anyway, yeah, this is the whole kill the boar thing, which it's sad that that's where we are as a peoples, but that's exactly where we are, and that's exactly what's going on. So we'll see where it goes, I guess, but hopefully the South Africans will be able to find safe homes and will probably go to work right away, I'm guessing. Many of them farm for a living, obviously. That's what they do, and probably will find jobs and work right away, is my guess. And then the other Revolver News article I pulled up, trans assassin who tried to kill Scott Bessent is a copycat of the Luigi Mangione killer. Now, we did a show a couple weeks ago about old Luigi here. So this is another copycat sort of attempt here on Scott Bessent's life. So I wasn't even aware that there had been an attempt on his life. However, I guess it just happened. This is dated May 13th. The attempted assassination of Treasury nominee Scott Bessent wasn't just some random act of violence. It was a copycat crime, thanks to a twisted left-wing media that glorifies radical extremists as folk heroes. That's exactly what they do. Ryan Riley English, a 24-year-old transgender militant, didn't just wake up one day and decide to bring knives and Molotov cocktails to the Capitol. He was following a blueprint, a pattern, a narrative. That narrative was written the moment the left turned the accused killer Luigi Mangione into a progressive martyr. But this is nothing new. Take a look. And this is an embedded tweet here about Luigi, who we've talked about quite a bit on this show. The left always does this, don't they? They celebrate the thug, the bad guy, the criminal. What Luigi did should have been a warning to stop radicalizing unstable activists, but instead it became a sneaky little rallying cry to do more. So this guy, Ryan English, did, or at least he tried to. He said that he was inspired by Luigi. Then here's another transgender person causing trouble, and then here's another trans student assaulting a girl at a bus stop. So it just goes on and on. More trans violence. New evidence shows Zion Teasley, this guy, man accused of murdering this 29-year-old Lauren Hike on an Arizona hiking trail in 2023, identified as transgender and said that he wanted to look like her. So he kills her. Wow, that is the sick society that we live in. Again, further proof we are in the end times, my friends, right? Sure seems like it to me. Gateway Pundit article, speaking of murderers, well, they have a face now, and hopefully they've got the right guy. Austin, Texas police arrest 17-year-old for the murder of InfoWars reporter Jamie White. So we mentioned weeks ago when this happened, what happened, and then they finally got the guy, or at least they're saying he's the guy. 3 additional suspects remain on the loose. Austin Police Department arrested 1 of 4 suspects for the murder of InfoWars reporter Jamie White outside his Texas home on March 9th. So it's been that long. Eloy Adrian Camarillo, 17, has confessed to police that White, 36, was shot during an attempted burglary of his vehicle by him and 3 of his friends. So Camarillo and 3 of his friends were burglarizing this guy's car, and they shot and killed him because he tried to stop him. Camarillo and his friends were seen approaching a Kia vehicles because they are notoriously easy to steal. So if you guys have a Kia vehicle, you might want to look at that. They are notoriously easy to steal. The killers had broken a window and entered White's Kia Soul vehicle to go for a joyride, according to Camarillo, when he approached them to try and stop the theft. And as he confronted the group, he was shot in the neck. Says Camarillo was arrested April 30th and charged with capital murder by terror, threat, and other felonies. His bond was set at $250,000. It's currently unclear if Camarillo is an American citizen. Well, what do you think? My guess is probably not, but if not, then he will definitely get the soft treatment, is my guess. But we'll see. We'll see where it ends up, but that's on Gateway Pundit. Governor Whitmer made the same threat to Trump as James Comey did. They know exactly what they're doing. Except she had 8645. Here it is right here. She didn't do it with seashells, though. She did it with numbered blocks behind her, very small, under the plant. Governor Gretchen Whitmer displayed an 8645 sign during her TV appearance. 86 can be shorthand for killing someone. Whitmer is encouraging assassination attempts against President Trump just weeks after someone sent a ricin-laced package to the White House. She didn't get blamed for it, though, did she? No, of course not. But the difference here, if you want to say there's a difference, there is a slight difference in that Comey is the former director of the FBI. She, not so much. She's only the lowly governor of the state of Michigan. Which I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying there is a difference. But she should be held accountable, too. She should at least be questioned about this. But, of course, she probably won't be. We'll see. But anyway, that's on Headline USA as well. But yeah, she did the same thing. I was looking to see when that happened. Resurfaced October 2020 MSNBC interview. She showed a pin behind her that read 8645. So October of 2020. So she was way ahead of the curve here. She's standing there with the same crazy, quote, comedian that's holding Trump's decapitated head and blood dripping from it. Remember her? I forget that woman's name, but it's not important. You know who I mean. Anyway. Yep, they want him DEAD, and unfortunately, there are plenty of crazies out there who might try it again. Information Liberation articles. Just some of the headlines here. Report Hamas says Witkoff promised to lift the Gaza blockade in exchange for Eden Alexander. Hamas is claiming that President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, promised them that the U.S. would lift Israel's Gaza blockade in exchange for the release of Israeli-American IDF captain Eden Alexander. But threw the deal in the trash after Alexander's release. So that's one of the Information Liberation articles. And then this one I mentioned earlier about the InfoWars reporter. Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and Laura Loomer warn of foreign influence. But no, not from Israel. No, that's okay. It's okay when Israel does it. It's from Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to say it. I think it's Qatar. But, yep. But there's no influence from foreign countries like Israel, or if there is, then we're just going to sidestep that and not really look at that and not pay attention to that. It's just not important, because it only matters if it's the Muslims doing it, not the Israelis. Yeah. So anyway, that's an Information Liberation article. New York Times, Trump ended war with the Houthis after they shot down U.S. drones and nearly hit U.S. fighter jets. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the news night tonight, but further information here on this site about that with the Houthis. But yeah, apparently this has ended, so that is good news. Got a few articles from WNG.org. This is a big one in my area here in the last few days. Dozens die in U.S. tornado outbreaks. Do you guys know about this? At least 18 people died in tornadoes in Kentucky. I want to say it's over 30 now, between Missouri and Kentucky at least. See what this says. At least 18 people died in tornadoes in Kentucky on Friday, and severe weather claimed the lives of 9 others in the South and Midwest. In southeastern Kentucky, suspected tornadoes swept through rural Laurel and Pulaski counties, damaging hundreds of homes. So, and then St. Louis area was the other area hit. Tornado likely touchdown. So, weather warfare, or at least weather off the rails. More of what Mr. Dane talks about. So that's on the SIFT on WNG.org. 1 dead after massive explosion at Southern California Fertility Center. A fertility center. So I pulled this up because I wanted to see exactly what they're doing here. Officials said 1 person died and at least 4 others suffered injuries when the explosion rocked the Palm Springs Fertility Center on Saturday morning. This was yesterday. Look at this. Wow. The blast occurred at approximately 11 o'clock local time. When firefighters arrived, the building was on fire and had already suffered structural collapse. Again, this is Palm Springs. Davis said the explosion involved a vehicle and spread debris as far as 250 yards. A vehicle. I wonder if they had a car bomb here. Let's see. Says they likened it to the 2018 bombing at the commercial office building in Aliso Viejo. What was the cause of the explosion? They characterized the incident as an international act of terrorism spread across a massive crime scene. He said the FBI bomb technicians were still working to determine the origins of the blast. First responders were immediately concerned about secondary devices and cleared the entire neighborhood. Are there any suspects? They were not actively out searching for a suspect yet. So hopefully they'll figure out what's going on. But that's crazy. A fertility center. What I was looking to see was exactly what they do there. It doesn't say it was an abortion center, but it might have been. So I'm wondering, based on the center here, what they did and who they're going to blame this on. Anyway, that's on WNG.org. And then this one, too, I thought was kind of interesting. I remember mentioning this when this happened. It seemed like a couple years ago. Salman Rushdie, his attacker, has been sentenced to 25 years in prison. So this guy lived. I don't know if you guys remember this. He was the author of the book, 1988 novel, The Satanic Verses, which many Muslims were offended by how Salman Rushdie portrayed the Islamic prophet Muhammad in his 1988 book, The Satanic Verses. The book prompted Iranian Grand Ayatollah Khomeini to put a $3 million bounty on Rushdie's head. I remember when that happened back in 88, and that was an awful lot of money. It's still awful lot of money, but that was a lot of money back in 1988. Matter never formally confirmed that he was acting on the 1989 order. So Matar, or Matter, however you say this guy's name, is the guy that actually did the stabbing. So this was in 2022 when he was knife attacked when given a speech. Matar charged Rushdie during an onstage speaking engagement and stabbed the author a total of 15 times across his neck, head, and stomach. The Indian-born British-American author survived but lost an eye from the attack. Wow. Jury convicted Matar of the attack in February, and the 27-year-old received 25 years in prison for attempted murder. So anyway, Salman Rushdie update. I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, I didn't even realize that. I never really heard if he lived or not. All right, let's see here. A couple RT articles I pulled up. British general accused of killings. Cover-up takes helm at Royal Navy. So look who's in this picture. Anybody you recognize? Yeah. It's a file photo, but it's King Charles greets Major General Gwen Jenkins. Gwen Jenkins reportedly withheld evidence of extrajudicial SAS executions in Afghanistan instead of forwarding the matter to military police. So I pulled this up because I wanted to see what old KC3 had to do with this particular story. The British government has appointed General Gwen Jenkins as First Sea Lord and Chief of the Naval Staff, approved by Charles III on Thursday. The decision follows unresolved allegations that Jenkins, this guy on your right here, had failed to report suspected war crimes in Afghanistan and later obstructed the relocation of key witnesses. Well, sounds like he's the perfect guy for the job, doesn't it? He covers stuff up. The general succeeds Admiral Ben Key, who stepped down last week amid an ongoing misconduct investigation. Media reports suggest the probe centers on Key's alleged affair with more junior female colleagues. Jenkins came under scrutiny 2 years ago when BBC reported that the then vice chief of the defense staff had failed to forward evidence of Special Air Services soldiers executing handcuffed detainees in Afghanistan to the Royal Military Police. So we're just going to look the other way. Our guys didn't actually do it. So anyway, sounds like the perfect guy for the job working for KC3, doesn't it? Anyway, dailycrow.com wanted to mention this. MSNBC commentator, who happens to be Jewish, says that white South African asylum seekers, so back to the old Boers again, are, quote, descendants of white supremacists, end quote. You don't hate the legacy media enough. Let's be serious. If the South African farmers were Jewish, it would have been declared genocide years ago, and they'd have been granted immediate refugee status with NGOs like the ADL leading the charge. Alas, it's whites being persecuted and killed, so they enable it. Farm murders, land confiscation, 100,000 black radicals chanting for white genocide, which we just saw the little clip of that in the video a little bit ago. Yet those cheering infinity, non-white arrivals to the U.S. condemn the arrival of 50 white farmers. Well, it was actually 49, and some of them were kids. They're not mad about migration. They're mad that 50 white people might not be slaughtered. The beginning of the end of white guilt. So, thought that was a pretty good summary. Anyway, that was on Daily Crow. And then Daily Mail, wall of dust. I thought this was potentially a geoengineering thing that happened here. Apocalyptic wall of dust engulfs Chicago as at least 23 are killed and 500,000 are without power in tornado hellscape. So that sounds like a geoengineering nightmare is what it sounds like as far as the way it was created, most likely. An apocalyptic wall of dust is set to blanket Chicago after severe storms ripped through the Midwest, leaving at least 23 people dead and millions without power. A terrifying dust cloud descended onto the Chicago area as residents were choked and blinded by the 100-mile line of dust from southwest Chicago to northern Indiana. The rare event shocked forecasters and locals after a dust storm warning was issued by the National Weather Service, only for the second time in history. It looks like a bad thunderstorm coming through, but you can tell that it's not just a thunderstorm, it's dust. It's straight up dust, says CBS News. After numerous incidents occurred due to the severe lack of visibility, National Weather Service urged residents to stay indoors and only travel when, quote, absolutely necessary. So the whipped up dust and debris picked up from dry farmland by nearly 70-mile-per-hour winds was pictured by photographer Brian Siegel, who said he'd never seen anything like it. So that's what this is. Terrifying dust cloud descending onto Chicago area as residents were choked and blinded by the 100-mile line of dust from southwest Chicago to northern Indiana. Isn't that crazy? So now we have massive dust storms hitting Chicago. Almost looks like a sandstorm in the Middle East somewhere. Thought that was really weird. Anyway, that one's a Daily Mail article. A couple of high-tech articles I pulled up. Singularity Hub is one of the sites that I look at pretty often just to see what they have going on. Scientists can now 3D print tissues directly inside the body, no surgery needed. How about that? A new bioprinter uses ultrasound to print tissues, biosensors, and medication depots deep in the body. That does not sound good to me. Our bodies are constantly breaking down. Over time, their built-in repair mechanisms also fail. That's actually not true if you take care of yourself. But they don't want you to know that. Knee cartilage grinds away. Hip joints no longer support weight. Treatments for breast cancer and other health issues require removal by surgery. Because the body can't regenerate those tissues, reconstruction using biomaterials is often the only way. Traditionally, this kind of restoration involves one-size-fits-all breast implants or hip joints. More recently, 3D bioprinted tissues have begun to be tailored for patients, but these artificial tissues are printed outside of the body and they still require additional surgeries to implant. This month, a team from California Institute of Technology unveiled a system to 3D print tissues inside the body, no surgeries needed. Dubbed Deep Tissue In Vivo Sound Printing, or DISP. They always have to have an acronym. The system uses an injectable bioink that's liquid at body temperature but solidifies into structures when blasted with ultrasound. What does that sound like? Graphene? That's what it sounds like to me. A monitoring molecule, also sensitive to ultrasound, tracks tissue printing in real time. Excess bioink is safely broken down by the body. Yes, safely. I don't think I would want to test it. Anyway, very strange. That's what's going on, at least in California to some degree. California Institute of Technology unveiled this system, so we'll see how far that goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if it will be coming soon to a hospital near you, and it will be driven by some sort of AI doctor. You watch. Not a human. All right, and then let's see, this one. Episcopal Church says it won't help resettled white South Africans granted refugee status. So we touched on this earlier. I won't bother going into that again, but here's the whole thing from the Episcopal Church, which I think was one of the NGOs that was responsible for bringing in many of the millions and millions of people through the Biden administration from the southern border. So I think they were totally fine with refugees when they were actually just people invading the country. That was okay as long as you had brown skin. That's what they wanted. But if you have white skin, nope, not so much. It's not okay. All right, and then Daily Mail. Bob Pope posts on X for the first time after one word slight against America. So I was looking to see what it was. Even Pope Leo has used his first social media post to urge world leaders not to go to war. The Pope shared several hopeful posts on his X account on Wednesday calling for peace and faith, days after issuing a one-word message to America. I'm looking to see what that was, because it doesn't say. Peace be with you all is the first greeting spoken by, and get this is what kind of cracks me up. This is what they think of this guy. He's just a human, right? He's nobody. He's just a pope. Peace be with you all. This is the first greeting spoken by the risen Christ, the Good Shepherd. That's what they're calling this guy. Blasphemy much? They're calling him the risen Christ, the Good Shepherd. The Pope. Bob Pope is not the risen Christ. I would like this greeting of peace to resound in your hearts, in your families, and among all people, wherever they may be, every nation and throughout the world. Looking to see what else he said. Pope pointed his opening posts to ongoing conflicts around the world, calling for peace as wars in Ukraine and Gaza and India rage around the world. So this is dated May 14th, so a few days ago now. I think the India one, maybe, last I heard, it's kind of subsided, at least for a bit. There's so much violence and so many wars in our world, he wrote. So Bob Pope is one of these people that likes to state the obvious. So I guess it'll be not that much fun to follow on X. But anyway, there you go. Daily Mail article, and then the other, this is the other site, science type thing that I pulled up. Teachers using AI to grade their students' work sends a clear message they don't matter and will soon be obsolete. The results are dismal. So I thought I was a little confused by the headline. I wanted to see what this was even about. It says, talk to a teacher lately and you'll probably get an earful about AI's effects on student attention spans, reading comprehension, and cheating. As AI becomes ubiquitous in everyday life, thanks to tech companies forcing it down our throats, which that's true, it's probably no shocker that students are using software like ChatGPT at a nearly unprecedented scale. One study by the Digital Education Council found that nearly 86% of university students use some type of AI in their work. That's causing some fed-up teachers to fight fire with fire, using AI chatbots to score their students' work. As one teacher mused on Reddit, "You are welcome to use AI, just let me know. If you do, the AI will also grade you. You don't write it, I don't read it," is what this teacher said. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way of approaching it. Others are embracing AI with a smile, using it to tailor math problems to each student. In one example listed by Vice, some go as far as requiring students to use AI. One professor in Ithaca, New York, shares both ChatGPT comments on student essays as well as her own and asks students to run their essays through AI on their own. So you have some teachers that want to use it, I guess. So I thought that was a little strange, and they're definitely using it for cheating on tests. I was looking to see if that's even mentioned here, other than sort of in a passing way. If there were a 50% chance your car would fail catastrophically on the highway, none of us would be driving. So why is it okay for teachers to take the same gamble with students? It's just further confirmation that AI is no substitute for a living, breathing teacher. And that isn't likely to change anytime soon. In fact, there's mounting evidence that AI's comprehension abilities are getting worse as time goes on, and original data becomes scarce. So how about that? Recent reporting by New York Times found that the latest generation of AI models hallucinate as much as 79% of the time, which is way up from past numbers. When teachers choose to embrace AI, this is the technology they're shoving off onto our kids. Notoriously inaccurate, overly eager to please, and prone to spewing outright lies. That's what they're calling hallucinating, is when the AI goes off the rails and just starts lying. Anyway, I thought that was pretty wild. But that's on Futurism. Teachers using AI to grade their papers. New York Post article. Shocking majority of Gen Zers would marry AI, think that it could replace a human connection, according to a poll. They're just wired differently. A shocking portion of the Generation Z says that they could form a, quote, deep emotional bond with an AI-generated partner and would even consider marrying one. 83% of the young people born between 1997 and 2012 said, again, 83% said they could develop a meaningful connection with the chatbot, while 80% said they would even consider marrying one if it was legal, according to a poll of the most digitally native age group. So this is where we are. This is where we are. You still think we are not living in the end times? Generation Z people are willing to marry AI. How sad is that? A staggering 75% of Gen Zers also said they think AI partners have the potential to fully replace human companionship. And what happens when you have the merging of humans and machines? What happens? Well, you have no more humans. That's what. And that is the whole point, isn't it? Just like the whole trans thing and the LGBT, ABC, XYZ thing, you get no more little humans with those scenarios. Forbidden Knowledge TV. So we have the Comey thing with the 8647. We have Trump's, his response to that. Comey knows exactly what it meant. He's exactly right. Qatar or Qatari band playing and dancing to the YMCA, which is probably something you would really like to see, I'm sure, but we won't bother playing that tonight. That's on Forbidden Knowledge TV. Let's see. What really happened in Las Vegas in retribution against the former Saudi regime. So they have some interesting articles here. This one is the one that I pulled up, though. Forbidden Knowledge TV says Donald Trump to announce U.S. recognizes Palestinian state. Gulf diplomatic sources are claiming. So how about that? I'm wondering where that's going to be exactly, if this is even true. Disparate sources confirm the possibility of the U.S.'s imminent recognition of the state of Palestine. On May 10th, the Jerusalem Post reported that Trump would announce that the U.S. recognizes the Palestinian state during the Gulf Summit being held this week. So that I think that's over by now. This is dated May 13th. Yeah. Jerusalem Post headline was altered since its initial publication, which is seen in the background of this TikTok video. So there's the original headline. Donald Trump to announce U.S. recognizes Palestinian state, Gulf diplomatic source claims. The original headline was changed from that to Gulf diplomatic sources debate if Trump will announce the U.S. recognition of Palestinian state. So either they got it wrong and corrected it, or something was changed in what was actually discussed with Trump and the people in Saudi Arabia. So anyway, thought that was kind of a little wild. I've never heard of anybody that was going to recognize a Palestinian state like this, at least in the U.S. capacity. So that'll be interesting to see if that actually happens. Not really all for it. I don't care. I just want to stay out of the whole mess. I could care less. I don't want to see people getting murdered and bombed and blown away in Gaza. But that doesn't mean that I am pro-Hamas and pro-Muslim and pro all that stuff. But you have one group of people being genocided by another group, and the other group is, the group that's doing it is also running most of our Congress. So I'm not okay with that. Okay, let's see here. Leo Hohmann's Substack had a few new articles on it. I don't think there was any new ones on his main website. But Michael Yon does some really good work. Michael Yon reports on the ground from Texas. It's not what you think, folks. Famed war correspondent Michael Yon goes to Texas to find out exactly how much cooperation with state law enforcement Trump is getting for his mass deportations. So anyway, there's several new posts here on Leo's Substack, leohohmann.substack.com. LA edges closer to historic $30 minimum wage for tourism workers amid backlash. So this wouldn't be for everybody, I guess, but listen to this. LA City Council preliminarily approved a plan to raise wages for hotel and airport workers to $30 an hour minimum wage by 2028, with gradual increases starting at $22.50 an hour in July 2024 and annual $2.50 raises. So they're trying to raise the minimum wage to $30 an hour if you're in those industries. Wow. Final vote scheduled for May 23rd, with strong labor union backing but opposition from business groups. I wonder why. The policy applies to hotels with 60-plus rooms and LAX airport concessions, where current wages are a measly $20.32 per hour. Again, that's minimum wage. So, anyway, man, pays to be in the big negotiating blocks here, I guess, in the unions. So, $30 minimum wage for tourism workers and hotel industry workers. Crazy. That's on Natural News. And then Wine Press articles this week. Let's see. This is their Substack. Collapse. Moody's downgrades U.S. credit from top-tier rating in sign of failing economy. Bond sell-off and rising yields. So it depends on who you ask. If we're in a good economy or a bad economy. Some people will say you're crazy if you say that we're in a good economy. Other people will say you're crazy if you say we're in a bad economy. China debuts world's first AI agent hospital that treats thousands of patients virtually in future of healthcare. So isn't that lovely? AI agent hospital. Of course, China would be first. Makes perfect sense. Elon Musk says his Neuralink brain implant will replace phones. Cell phones will become obsolete in the future, being replaced by chips that are implanted directly in the human brain. That's where it's going. I don't know that they really would need to do it that way, though. It sounds like they would have to crack open your skull and insert something. They don't need to do that. They can inject it into your bloodstream. Hence, the whole nanotech that is in the it's a similar type of technology. Self-assembling. It's not necessary to insert a chip. That's old technology at this point. Anyway, thought that was kind of interesting. That's on winepress, thewinepress.substack.com. Got just a few articles pulled up from the Gateway Pundit. 21 people confirmed dead after tornadoes ripped through Kentucky and Missouri. So more on that ordeal that happened in southern Kentucky, mostly, and then also St. Louis. So yeah, it says confirmed at least 14 people were killed in Kentucky. So this is old information, I guess. 21 total, according to this. So anyway, there's that one on the Gateway Pundit. And then Trump announces he will be speaking to Putin and Zelensky on Monday to try and stop the bloodbath. So again, we'll see where this goes. Hopefully that will mean the end of the war in Ukraine, and Russia has been winning the whole time. There's never been any denying that by anybody with any sort of rational thinking here, and it needs to end. But it hasn't so far because Zelensky doesn't want it to end, and neither does NATO. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. President Trump, we now have substantially over $10 trillion of investment following the UAE visit. In a groundbreaking development this week, Trump announced that his White House has now secured over $10 trillion in investments from foreign nations and companies just 4 months into his second term. On Friday, White House posted a video highlighting the jaw-dropping total in investments that the U.S. has secured from modern Arab nations, compounded by enormous investments other foreign nations and companies have guaranteed. We now have, I think, substantially over $10 trillion of investment, and now, when I add the $1.4 trillion, we easily break that number. We really appreciate your confidence in your investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made. We are going to treat you very magnificently, Trump said. Yeah, I'm sure that they will. Anyway, that is, I guess, more winning. Depends on how you define winning, from Trump. So that one is on Gateway Pundit. And then I pulled up one article on Not the Bee, just because I thought this was odd. Birds in the Bay Area are mysteriously exploding midair. What is going on? Bay Area residents are reporting that dozens of birds are exploding and falling out of the sky mid-flight. One Ring camera caught the instant of a bird's demise on video. So I won't play it just in case you get offended by those types of things, but it says there's a pop and then it drops. But look what it's near. It's near this, well, it's an electrical tower, but it looks like they have some 5G or other sort of, tower-related stuff on there. So when they land and it happens, they just quickly explode, and it's really violent. It sounded like a firecracker, and a black bird, a starling, just plummeted to the ground. The sound coming from up on the pole caused the residents to call the electrical company, who had Fish and Wildlife come out and inspect the birds. They have shared that the birds show no evidence of electrocution and that their deaths were caused by trauma, potentially from a pellet or a BB gun or a slingshot. I don't think so. I would say it's probably electromagnetic, wouldn't you? Based on where they are? Looks to me like. Sounds like someone is feeding birds antacids. Feeding them rice. Yeah, 5G, I think this guy's right. Anyway. Very strange, but that only appears to be happening in the Bay Area, which would be surprising to me if that's the only place that that's happening. But that's what's mentioned here on Not the Bee. And then just a couple headlines here on InfoWars. Sunday Night Live, it's official. The 2020 election was stolen. That's been official for what? At least 4 or 5 years now. Joe Biden was never the president, and right on time, Sleepy Joe is diagnosed with aggressive cancer. Right on time. Video, Hillary complains Trump wants Americans to have more babies and says deported immigrants were already doing that. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point in bringing them all in. I mean, that is replacement migration. We're supposed to be replaced and like it. Clinton claims Trump doesn't really want a baby boom because he deported migrants who, quote, produced the most children in our country. Yeah, by raping all the women who are living here. And the ones coming in, too. President Trump's desire for Americans to have more babies was already being fulfilled by illegal immigrants targeted for deportation, says Hillary. Anyway, that is not something she would want, is it? Us, the little people. Anyway, low birth rates will end civilization. Yep. I was kind of touching on that earlier with the whole Gen Zers wanting to marry AI and not have actual kids. All right, so that's the InfoWars article. And then Trump posts the wild Clinton body count clip. So this is kind of strange. He posted this on his Truth Social account, I guess.
Kennedy Jr., he was declared the front-runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found. Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement. In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking. An autopsy determined that Scheib's death was accidental drowning, but he might have known too much. 27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed in D.C. this year. There is speculation that he was the source of the controversial leaked emails allegedly sent by DNC staffers, and that he may have been murdered in retaliation. Then Sean Lucas, the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC, was found lying on the bathroom floor by his girlfriend when she returned home on August 2nd. His death was reported classified, pending the results of an autopsy.
All right, so the whole point here really, to me, is he went through the hassle of posting this on his Truth Social account. So do something about it, Trump. If you think the Clintons were involved in all this stuff, do something about it. There is no statute of limitations on murders. If they were involved, then have them investigated. Do something. Don't just put a video on your social media and then walk away. Of course the Clinton body count is real. Of course they've had hundreds of people, most likely, murdered. That's what they do. They were running drugs when they were in the governor's mansion in Arkansas. They were literally running drugs. So they killed people to cover that up. And then all along this whole time. So have them investigated, Bill and Hillary. Unfortunately, nothing will happen. But I just wanted to show you that video. I thought that was pretty good that was at least posted. So that's good news. People are, they need to be aware of what's going on with the Clintons, because I think a lot of people, younger people, have no idea how corrupt they have been all this time. Trump continues to attack U.S. businesses like Walmart for being honest about his tariffs forcing price increases. Meanwhile, children are massacred in Gaza, genocide. So this is one of the top articles on vaccine impact. Air traffic whistleblower reveals lack of human resources and failing technology make air travel unsafe. Well, we've seen that. This is actually, I think, the first week, the first Diamond Report in many weeks where I haven't reported some sort of plane accident or incident. I didn't find any, but I wasn't looking for any either. So knock on wood. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But it does seem to be happening pretty often, doesn't it? But not this week, so that's good news. VaccineImpact.com. And then what else here? I didn't pull up anything from Israel 365. So onward to GeoWatch. Global Alert News for May 17th, which is yesterday. Deadly tornadoes rip across Midwest, leaving fatalities in Missouri and Kentucky. Huge hail pounds areas of southern Kentucky. I don't know how we missed this. We're not all that far from where that area is. 100 miles maybe, something like that. And luckily we did. We didn't have any of that. We had a little wind. That was about it. Little rain. Trail of destruction as tornadoes, storms in 3 states kill at least 32 people. Question, are the massive layoffs at weather warning agencies part of the plan? Does that plan include covering the tracks of the climate engineers and weather warfare that they're waging? So, yeah, he's sort of insinuating here that the Trump administration is letting the geoengineers do their thing and laying off the people in the government who would be doing the weather warning, the agencies that would be warning. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's what's going on or not. I sort of tend to think that he's just trying to cut budgets and cut governmental waste. Not to make excuses, but that seems like that's what's going on. Although who knows for sure. I don't know that Trump's even really aware of geoengineering and what is even happening in our skies. We do know that RFK Jr. knows about it, though. So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully something will. All right, and then the scheduled weather for this week. Look, it's going to cool off. May 23rd to the 27th, so this coming week, it's going to be the split down the middle with the hot side hot and the cool side cool, just like always, pretty much. It's just a flip-flop. They just decide they're going to chemically cool one area, but they can't do the whole country. They can only do half at a time, apparently. It depends on where they can get the moisture from, you see. If they chemically cool the eastern half of the U.S., the moisture has to come up from the Gulf. So they have to change the airflows so that they can chemically ice nucleate and therefore cool down at least half of the U.S. In this case, coming up will be the eastern half again, which is pretty much the norm, and the west gets to fry. That'll be above normal, at least near normal to above normal, so they'll be pretty warm out there. So if you're in the west, get ready for some warmer temps, especially if you're in like Arizona and Las Vegas area and Utah. It's going to be pretty warm. So something to watch for. Let's see what else we got here. I didn't pull up any KC3 videos this week, so we'll skip that. Other than the one article I mentioned about him earlier. So let's look at a few of these posts that I put on my X account. Thought this was pretty appropriate. We have the MS-13 Democrats with the Coexist water fountain, but they're also sticking up the other sign on the really crappy water fountain for the white refugees. So this is where we are now. This is where we are. Anyway, it kind of says it all. Burn it to the ground. You've seen this same logo on a little pin on King Charles. He likes to wear it, although this one's in flames. Guns don't kill people. Planned Parenthood kills people. Yes, little people. Don't shoot me, I'm retarded. Prove it. And he says men can get pregnant. So, confirmed. Let's clear up a couple of myths. That is not a woman, and that is not a hero. So I've heard through the grapevine a little bit here that Derek Chauvin is on the verge of being pardoned. And we will see if that actually happens or not. The so-called murderer, or the police officer who had the knee on the neck of George Floyd here. But of course, it's been confirmed, has been for a long time, that he died of a drug overdose, not from having Chauvin's knee on his neck. But that doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. But we do know that he's not a hero, and that is not a woman. For sure. Okay, and then, yeah, here it is right here. George Floyd died from a drug overdose. He was one of the hundreds of thousands of Americans killed by fentanyl that is trafficked across our border by the cartels. But let's not look at that. Let's look at the white guy who had his knee on his neck. That's what we have to pay attention to, not the fentanyl coming across from Mexico. Nope, ignore that. No life-threatening injuries are identified. It's circled. No life-threatening injuries identified. And then the toxicology area of this document, blood, drug, and novel psychoactive substances screens, fentanyl and norfentanyl and methamphetamines and cotin and caffeine and all kinds of stuff. I think it was probably the caffeine that did it, don't you? That stuff will kill you. And a little fentanyl mixed in surely would help him along too. So here's Mr. Dane on with Nicole Shanahan. He who controls the weather controls the world. Yep. That we hear that every week on the show that I helped put together for Mr. Dane. Yep, President Lyndon Johnson said so in 1962, I think, 61 or 62, something like that. And apparently he was on with Nicole Shanahan on her podcast. So what else we got here? I guess that's it. There's a few other things here. The Ben & Jerry's co-founder, Ben Cohen. Note that name, Ben Cohen. Yeah, that's not a Presbyterian name, is it? Ben Cohen goes nuts, has a meltdown on Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. before being thrown out of the hearing room. If he's concerned about Americans' health, he should look no further than Ben & Jerry's ice cream. A pint of Ben & Jerry's milk and cookies ice cream has 1,130 calories, 97 grams of sugar, 117 grams of carbs, and 67 grams of total fat. Ben & Jerry's is angry that poison food additives are being removed from the U.S. food supply by Kennedy. Yeah, and his statement was that RFK Jr. is killing people with hate. That's literally what he said, killing people with hate. I say, name the first person who he killed with hate. I want to see him. All right, if you guys happen to be on X, you should follow this guy. He's I can't say he's a friend of mine, but I've talked to him a couple times. He's been interviewed several times on Lost Arts Radio. Dr. Henry Ely, he's doing really good work out there. I just retweeted one of his posts as well. And then we've got clips from last week's show. So that is on Diamond Report on X. So x.com/thediamondrprt. So yes. Don't shoot me, I'm retarded. Prove it. Well, men can get pregnant. Not so much. Pretty funny. So anyway, those are the posts on the Diamond Report Twitter X account this week. And make sure you're on my Substack list, diamonddisc.substack.com. If you're not already, totally free. And it's a good mechanism for being able to help support this show as well. If you do want to financially support a little bit what I'm doing, I would certainly appreciate that. No pressure, but there's a few people chipping in. So thank you guys. You know who you are. And did get one new sign up actually on Subscribestar this week. So we do have, we're back to 6 subscribers total on Subscribestar. So that's the best option to support the show. And then the other option is through Substack, and you can look through the various variables on both of those platforms. The subscriptions start about $5 a month, and then there are also options for one-off type subscriptions, or not really subscriptions, but one-off type donations if you want to go that route. And here's a Diamond Report store, and thank you to the person, you know who you are, I think he was here earlier in chat, who bought a new hat. A Diamond Report conspiracy analyst hat this week. So thank you for doing that. I won't mention his name just in case he doesn't want people to know. But anyways, I noticed he was here earlier. So thank you very much for doing that. Very much appreciated. And various other products here. We got laptop sleeves, but I should probably delete those. Most people don't even have laptops anymore. Do you guys have laptops? We've got mugs. We've got, I don't know, notebooks, mouse pads, water bottles, all kinds of stuff. So thank you guys for supporting the Diamond Report. I really appreciate it, and know that option is available. There's the store. The link's in the upper right corner up there, shop.thediamond.report. And I noticed somebody in chat earlier said that they had trouble getting the store to pull up. I've noticed that the link for shop.thediamond.report does get blocked sometimes, and I've had it blocked on my end as well. I've had to use a VPN to even make it work sometimes. So the option, though, is if you're on the Substack list, you get the full URL that's an alternative sort of URL to shop.thediamond.report, you get that in the email. So if you are interested in checking out the store and can't get the link to work, just look in the email from me from Substack. It is in there. So anyway, just a little note there. And then let's see what else we got. We have you folks that are on YouTube already. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not already, please subscribe. Up to 930 subscribers. So I've managed to stay over 921. It's actually pretty funny what they're doing here. Just back and forth, back and forth. I go up a few and then down a few. I always mention that, but it's kind of humorous to me. But yeah, we're up to 930 at this week, so we're up a little. So that's good. And then you can find me on Rumble as well, obviously. Diamond Disc on Rumble, DIAMONDISC. So Diamond, and then with the word disc at the end. It's my company name. Goes back to my music company. And then I use the same name across most of the platforms, the same on BitChute and Brighteon as well. So there it is. There's a spelling, DIAMONDISC, if you want to look me up on those platforms. And for some reason, I had some really good response this week on last week's show for the Brighteon post. So I put last week's show up on Brighteon, 690 views on Brighteon. I mean, that's like, probably 10,000 on YouTube. It's like that equivalent. So I thought that was really interesting that I got that many views. I think it's probably more based on the thumbnail and the title, most likely, but it didn't translate across to the other platforms. So I can't really say that for sure. It's possible that someone who has a bigger account on Brighteon shared what I was doing. I don't know, but I was impressed that it made to that level, and certainly thankful and grateful that people are sharing the show. So that if you don't want to spend any money, totally fine, and again, not expected, but if you would, please share the show. It really helps me out. Just trying to reach more people and build the show. So let me see what you guys are saying in chat before we go much further. I think we're running a little early tonight, which is highly unusual. Let's see what you guys are saying. Just tried the merch link and it works on iPhone and Safari browser. Martino said, okay, good to know. Yeah, it works for me on certain situations, like a VPN, and it doesn't work for me on my main studio desktop. It won't work. If I go to the full URL, it will. So yeah, let me see here. Excellent research and commentary, Doug. You do a fantastic job. Thank you. Looking to see what else you guys are saying. Doug, I agree. The guy needs to be pardoned. Oh, I think that was about Roger Ver. Yes, he definitely does. It's absolutely ridiculous and disgusting. Doug, I look forward to your take on the noise on Noahide laws post-Trump's Middle East relationship builds. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really hear that was discussed as far as the Noahide laws on the recent visit Trump made to Saudi Arabia. That would be more of an Israel thing, I would think. When he goes on a trip to Israel, then I think we should probably really be tuned into the whole Noahide laws thing. But this Saudi Arabia trip, I think, was, from what I could tell, it was all about making the deal and getting the multi-trillions of dollars flowing back to the U.S. or flowing to the U.S. from, places like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and so forth, UAE. So that's kind of my take on it at the moment. I don't think the Noahide laws would really have even come up unless he went to Israel, and I don't think he did in this trip. Doesn't look like our good friend Miss Emily made it tonight. That's too bad. She did tell me that she wasn't feeling 100%, so maybe say a prayer for Miss Emily. I don't think she's here. It doesn't look like. So anyways, thank you guys for being here tonight. I guess we can wrap it up, but we've got next show, which will be 10 p.m. Central on the 25th. So one more show yet this month. Sunday the 25th will be the next one, and hopefully you guys can join in, and look forward to chatting again at that point. We've got another video here we can watch, so we can play one more here. We've got a really interesting one, another Reese report. I think this is one. I feel like his reports are really good, but they're not really coming out as frequently as they used to, and for some reason, not many people see him. I don't know why. New Greg Reese report, the atrocious conviction of Reiner Fulmick. So you guys probably know who Reiner Fulmick is. He sort of dropped off the map. You don't really see him anymore. During the whole debacle, he was everywhere. He's an attorney. He's a German attorney and very well spoken. And he was everywhere there for a while and really putting the screws to the big pharma tyranny that was in the whole nightmare that was going on then. And you know what? They basically arrested him in Mexico and extradited him, and have trumped up, no pun intended, trumped up all these charges against him, and he's been locked away in a jail in Germany all this time. So we've got a parting video here that's a Reese report about the atrocious conviction of Reiner Fuellmich. I think it's worth watching just because I think people have forgotten about poor Reiner here, but the guy's rotting away in jail in Germany right now. So let's check out this last video for tonight, and we will call it a night. We'll be a little bit earlier than normal. So I think that's all I had to say for tonight. Thank you guys for being here, and wanted to say hi to the folks over on the Rumble chat as well. Got a few people watching over there. So thanks for being here on Rumble, and for all of you YouTubers, you know who you are. Miss Betty says, good show again. Much love. Blessings. Everybody be safe out there. Very well said. Thank you guys again for being here, and blessings to you all. Hope you guys have a wonderful week this week. And remember to keep Jesus front and center in your life. That is the most important thing you can do. The most important thing. Everything else sort of falls underneath that, but that is top priority, or if it's not, it certainly should be. And I'm going to try and remember to do that myself. So we try and live by the actual things that I say around here versus just saying them and then going about our business. So anyway, blessings to you all. Thanks again for being here tonight and spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. Love you guys, and we'll see you again next week. For unique perspectives in Christian truth and one-of-a-kind Bible studies, please visit our website, truthhuntershow.com. Help us get around big tech censorship on YouTube, Facebook, and others by subscribing to our website. You can do so by entering your email address right here and click subscribe. Another option is click the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll get a pop-up where you can enter your email address here and click subscribe. To support the work of the Truth Hunters, simply scroll down the page and you'll see ways that you can contribute by PayPal, Patreon, and Venmo. Thank you very much.